Hi guys, welcome back to another LineStar MLB DFS slate breakdown for Tuesday, April 11th. Before we get into it, just want to bring up good old LineStar, best deal in DFS. For only $29.99, you get all sports, you get DFS, you get player prop betting. It's the best deal. Take advantage. If you also want a little promo deal, we do have quite a few. FanDuel, Thrive, PrizePicks. If you're a new, and Underdog, if you're a new customer to any of them, you can click any of the links below, put in the minimum deposit, and you get 2 to 6 months free depending on which link you take. Now, let's just jump right into the slate. And as always, we will go straight to the pitching. So, today's slate, Alek Manoah, by far and away the highest owned pitcher at 43%. Jacob deGrom is also right there at 43%. And then Shohei at 41%. After those three, there's a big drop off in ownership. Now, first, Manoah, he's fairly cheap, $7,700. So I understand why he is so high owned. He does not have the upside as a deGrom or Ohtani. However, at that price point, makes a lot of sense. He is an elite pitcher. The one thing with him, though, is he doesn't have huge K strikeout stuff. 22% K rate over his last 20 starts. The other thing that is a little worrisome with him is the 4.33 FIP over his last 5 starts. He hasn't been dialed in as of late. Hopefully that changes. It'll be his third start. His second start was way better than his first. As you can see, going 7 innings, 98 pitches, and 5 Ks. So this one does have an elite matchup. Detroit is not a great team, striking out 25.1% versus righties. So this is a very good matchup for him, and he's just frankly too cheap. So do like that. The other thing here is his StatCast data hasn't been that great. Allowing 34% hard contact is a decent amount of hard contact there, so it is slightly worrisome. But all in all, he is a very good pitcher, and he's too cheap. So ownership is there. Now Jacob deGrom. He is far and away the highest ceiling of any pitcher. We're talking almost a 43% K rate. Nobody else is that high that's a starter and able to go as deep into games as him. His last game, 92 pitches, so he's up there. He's almost fully stretched out. I think you gotta like deGrom in this spot. Royals offense is kind of meh. Huge strikeout upside for deGrom, and the combined K rate is 29%. So he is in a great spot. Ohtani has the next highest ceiling on this slate. This Washington offense is not very good. Ohtani's K rate, 34% over the last 20, 35.7 over the last 5 starts. His pitcher StatCast data, it is in the red. However, if you look at it, it's not as worrisome as I would say, would think, just because there's the 52% fly balls, but it's only 19% hard contact. So guys just aren't hitting him very well. When they do hit him, it's a lot of soft contact, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. He is in a great spot, 28% combined K rate, so right up there with deGrom, just not quite as high. Now, we got Corbin Burnes coming at 22%. I think he's probably right around where he should be. One, Corbin Burnes we know is an elite pitcher, but he just hasn't shown it this year. His price has been suppressed a little bit because of 2 bad outings. So I understand why people are getting there. I just don't love it. I think I'll probably wait for him to get a little bit cheaper. And if that happens, then I will. Or show back to, his Cy Young type form. So for me, the one pivot that I really like on this from the pitching side is Pablo Lopez at 7,300, 9% owned. I think it's just a great spot to really take advantage. One, White Sox are hurt again. We got Eloy on the IL. Tim Anderson joined the IL yesterday. It's this team, once they get hurt like the White Sox aren't that great of hitters. We're in that spot again. Pablo Lopez is coming off 2 really good starts, and he has a new pitch mix, that he's using. He's retooled in the offseason, and you can see that from some of his numbers here. So his last 20 starts, 23.8% K rate. Over the last 5, it's up to 29. He had 8 Ks in his first game and 5.1 innings, 85 pitches. Followed that up with another 8K performance, 7 innings, 88 pitches. With his pitch counts going up, I expect him to be in the 90s today. This White Sox offense just isn't that great without its key players. Almost a 26% combined K rate is a really good spot here. So I really like him. The price is cheap. I think this ownership is probably going to come up. If it doesn't, though, I will absolutely be hammering Pablo Lopez on DraftKings. Now let's jump into FanDuel, show some ownerships here. So we have DeGrom coming in at 41%. By all means, we covered him on DraftKings. He should be. Ohtani's next behind DeGrom. And then we go Manoah. Now, Manoah is nowhere near as cheap as he was on DraftKings. So with the 23%, I think that's probably a little bit high when it's only $700 more to get to DeGrom. And if I wanted to go one of the less owned pitchers, I would probably go right back down to Pablo Lopez. Even though he is 9,600, he's a lot more expensive here, but I think he's in a good spot. And then Kyle Wright's kind of interesting at 9,100. It is against the Reds. He has shown some, upside as a pitcher. He is making his debut though, so you gotta be slightly worried about that. But regardless, he's a good pitcher for the Braves. So now let's jump into the stacks here. First, we got the Colorado game. It is a game total of 12. St. Louis is taking a huge amount of the ownership today. So just know that going into it. But Colorado's plus 39 underdogs. So Colorado's right there. The implied total for Colorado isn't that much less than St. Louis. So I think Colorado is getting overlooked a little bit, and you could play either one of them. For the ownership, I kind of favor playing Colorado over playing St. Louis here, and I'll show you why here. Pull up the team's requirement here. So we have Kyle Freeland pitching for Colorado. He's been really good this year. 3.3 ERA over his last 5 starts. FIP is 3.8, so super good FIP. Now we have Mikolas going for St. Louis. 5.56 ERA, 3.46 FIP. So a little bit worse FIP, way worse ERA. The WHIP is a little bit higher. Mikolas just hasn't been as good as Freeland to start the year. And with that, I don't mind going Colorado. I don't mind taking the ownership discount and going with this Colorado offense in Colorado. Next, if you look at the implied total, we have the Mariners and Blue Jays coming up next. I like both of those teams as pivots off of the high-owned Cardinals as well. Now let's dig into more of the stacks here. So our, by no surprise, St. Louis all over, highest owned. Now our highest projected is actually the Los Angeles Dodgers. However, the one thing I need to say about this is they are coming in super high projected, and it's really just because of a couple players. The value with them is only 1.8x. So that's probably not going to get you there to win a GPP unless they go really nuts, which by all means, it's the Dodgers. They absolutely could, but they are against Alex Wood, who is a decent pitcher. Now, the other thing about the Dodgers is they're a really expensive stack. 3 guys over 5K. 2 of them are pushing 6K. And then the other guys are kind of pricey too because they're getting a little bit of a Dodger price bump here. So If you wanted to pay up for pitcher, if you wanted DeGrom, if you wanted Ohtani, you probably can't go Dodgers. Just understand that. Now, there are a bunch of really cheap stacks that are interesting, one of which is the Arizona Diamondbacks. They got Corbin Carroll, 3,000. He can hit a home run. He can steal a couple bases. He's in a great spot. Moreno, super cheap at catcher. Alec Thomas, Ahmed, all of these guys are really cheap and have some upside. They are against Corbin Burns, though. Corbin Burns keeps being the guy that we have seen this year. Diamondbacks are in a great spot. If Burns comes back into his Cy Young type form, yeah, it might be a little rough one for the Diamondbacks. But you could also head to the Twins, who are in a decent spot. Lance Lynn hasn't been great to start the season. He's been throwing a lot of pitches, walking a lot of guys, letting guys on base. So I don't mind going them. Also, Milwaukee in that same Arizona game. It is Merrill Kelly on the other side. Kelly has been a decent pitcher, a little hit or miss, but their stack is just pretty cheap, has some nice upside, 2.4x. So I like those as kind of lower tier cheap stacks. And then if you want to go to a ceiling play, we have Ohtani, we have Trout. You can't play Ohtani because he's pitching, but we have the Angels versus Gray, who, look, Gray loves to give up a couple home runs. So Angels are in a good spot. That Washington bullpen behind Gray isn't that great. So say Gray walks a couple batters, Trout hits a home run, you're in a great spot there. Dodgers come in on the ceiling also. One thing with the Angels is, they're a little bit of an expensive stack as well. And then we have the Mariners, who we talked about, one of the higher game totals. They're in an interesting spot. The one thing that I would bring up with them is A.J. Pollock got subbed out pretty quick yesterday. And I do worry a little bit about their back-end hitters. They're really their value hitters. They're cheap hitters being in a little bit more of a platoon situation, kind of similar to what the Giants usually do. So it is a little bit of a worry for me, but I do like the stack. They're in a good spot to hit some home runs and score some points. And that will do it for us today. So we got Arizona, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Colorado, Dodgers, Seattle, and the Blue Jays are all stacks to consider. And favorite pivot low-owned pitcher is Pablo Lopez. Thank you, guys. Have a good one, and I will see you next time.